Thank you all for being here. Welcome to our April 2026 volunteer orientation for Indivisible Marin. My name is Matt Schmidt. I am part of the steering committee for Indivisible Marin. I've been with the organization for about 2 years. Been on the steering committee for about 4 months. My focus is really on supporting our protest events and also supporting some of the ongoing activities we have to support our at-risk local communities. I'm here with Lori Friedman, who's helping support the chat and doing some of the background work on the call. She is our phone banking guru and helps with lots of other things as well. She's been with the organization since almost the beginning, about 10 years ago. So we have a good representation here of folks who have been with the organization who've started recently, as well as those who've been around for a while. So for the agenda, we're going to talk about a few things here. It's pretty simple. We're going to go through our organizational history, how we're structured, what we'll be doing this year, different ways for you all to get involved. And then I will do a quick tour of our website so you can see how to sign up for things and how to become involved, how to get more involved with some of our activities. And then again, we'll have our Q&A afterwards. So let's talk a little bit about Indivisible Marin. We are a chapter of the National Indivisible Organization. We've had the same mission for about 10 years. We're a legacy group. We've been here since the beginning. And our mission is taking action to create a more just, caring, and inclusive America. And we try to structure everything that we do to be organized around those precepts. As you can see from the slide here, we have 3 pillars of commitment to our volunteers and members. The first one is we commit to having volunteer programs that have the most amount of impact. We've been doing this for a long time. We vet all of our programs for impact. Some of them we host ourselves. Others we partner with other organizations, but with always making sure that we feel like we're getting the most impact for the effort that you all are putting into volunteering. So we try and find things that have the biggest impact based on your interest and your ability and what's out there. So we'll work with you to help sort of craft a volunteer experience that is right for you. Experience, we have an incredibly experienced leadership team. It's sort of morphed over the years as we've gained more and more members. Some years we have people move in and out. This is all volunteer-led. It's sort of a positive dynamic. We have people, as I mentioned, who've been here for a long time. Lori has been here for 10 years, since basically the beginning. We have other steering committee members and people on the leadership team who've been with us for 5 years or fewer. People like me, we have a couple of new members on the steering committee that have been with the organization for only a couple of years. So, we get a variety of different perspectives, having this sort of dynamic joining of the leadership team. We have expertise on the leadership team in organizing, technology, communications, marketing, education, organizational administration, healthcare. We have some teachers. So lots of different folks. We actually have some openings on the leadership team. So at the end of this, if joining the leadership team is something you might be interested in, I can show you how you can reach out and express interest in joining us and upping your commitment, if that's something that you'd like to do. And then finally, community. So, it's really important for us, and we think that we can have the biggest impact if we create a sense of community with those that volunteer with us. Um, whether it's a group like here tonight, or hundreds of people on a call, or a community event in real life, we're always striving to understand how we can better create a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a sense of shared goals and values and identities. Um, and we've been doing that for years. We gained some expertise in creating virtual communities during the pandemic, and we've leveraged some of those learnings to extend the virtual communities, but also to create new and stronger communities in real life with some of the activities we have in our local communities. With the membership, we have a dedicated local group here. Also, our membership is over 13,000 people across the country. We have, a number of folks here in Marin, but we also have folks spread out throughout California, and a number of folks that have joined us in other states as well, because they feel like we represent them and that we have a great organization that helps support the types of activities that they're interested in. So our focus has changed over the years. It kind of depends on what is going on in politics. We've done different things at different times. This year, we're focused really on three things. We're focused on election advocacy with elected officials. We're focused on the resistance movement and all the protesting that's going on right now around various things like ICE and some of the other activities that are going on. And then we're also strongly focused on educating new volunteers. So next, let's talk a little bit about our organizational history. So for those of you that don't know, Indivisible began in 2017, right after Trump was elected the first time. Um, uh, there were two former young congressional staffers, Leah Greenberg and Ezra Levin, if you've ever heard of them. They're the ones who started Indivisible National. And they felt that they saw a lot of gaps in organizing in 2016 that led to our loss and Trump winning, and they wanted to try and address them. Um, they're a resource group for us. They don't tell us what to do. We have a lot of autonomy and can direct ourselves in a lot of ways towards our mutual goals. Um, um, but they do provide lots of different support for us. So they provide legal, financial, logistical, administrative support, and as well as sort of being providing a tremendous source of strategic thought about how we should be acting and what we should be doing, and then providing guidance around what's going on the Hill right now. They're really connected since they used to work there. For Indivisible Marin, at the beginning, we were locally organized, and we reached out to campaigns. We kind of worked solo with individual Congress campaigns, maybe in Southern California, Senate races in the midterms. In the 2018 midterms, we were mostly local. We had only local members we worked with, and mostly worked in person. And our protests were very community-based. And we didn't have sort of the national network that we have now. In 2020, during the pandemic, really to now, we've been continually growing, really growing a lot, and have gone virtual for many of our initiatives with technologies and platforms like Zoom and Mobilize, which have really facilitated this. Um, and basically, we've seen a lot of different changes over the past 5 years or so. We've seen a lot of centralization of grassroots groups. We've seen collaboration between groups and also between groups and candidates and campaigns and state parties and coalitions have formed, and that's really sort of the heart of how we get things done now. There's a fairly complex coalition of groups that we work closely with. We found this to be more efficient and more effective, and we're getting better and better, and we're looking to um, and we just feel that we're maturing in a way that helps us do things in a better way. Um, I mentioned our members come from all over the country. Um, we're both virtual and national as well as local. We work on elections now, not in a silo, not by ourselves, um, but we form coalitions, as I mentioned, with state parties and other grassroots organizations so that we're not duplicating each other and we're working together to be much more efficient. Um, the last couple of years, we've added back the large resistance movements protests. I'm sure you're all aware that we have the No Kings rallies and have been doing those for over a year now. We're also working to protect vulnerable communities locally and assist collaborating with other groups in our county so that we maximize the number of people that we can get out on the streets. And the goal is really to get, many of you have probably heard that the goal should really be for us to get 3.5% of our total population on the streets on a regular basis to defeat fascism in our country. Let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about our organizational structure here. As I mentioned, our organization is somewhat fluid. We have leadership team with folks across the various expertises that we discuss and commitments across various activities. We have a steering committee right now that has about 7 people. It's varied between 5 and 12 over the years. And we're happy to entertain folks that want to make additional commitments to join the leadership team if that's something that you're interested in. We have a lot of continuity in leadership. Our director has been with the organization since it began. And that's highly unusual for an indivisible group, and we feel that it provides the type of continuity and knowledge that makes us particularly effective. Beyond that, we have about 20 leaders that work on various teams, whether that be phone banking, postcarding, working together in the community to create protests, influencing our local board of supervisors, feeding the homeless. We have a new gardening project that we're working on with some at-risk communities. So lots of different teams, lots of different leaders, and we just have a very diverse group of folks leading our organization. With respect to communication, we'll be talking a little bit about our website. As I mentioned, I'm going to take you through our website in a little bit so you're more familiar with it. Susan also creates a monthly newsletter that's very detailed. She also sends out additional mini newsletters and emails and communications when something is happening that is maybe urgent, or if there's an opportunity to participate in some sort of activity, reaching out to Congress people, phone banking, postcarding, whatever that may be. So we don't try not to spam you. We're only sending out communications to you when we feel like there's something that's really important for you to know about. We try not to fill up your inbox with spam. We also are very active in social media. We have a Facebook account, Blue Sky, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of all our meetings and trainings. and those are posted. So let's talk about programming for this year. So this year we've had a lot of discussions as a steering committee and our leadership group, and we've decided to focus really on four main things. We're an election-based group. We do outreach to voters. This year it'll be around the midterms. We'll be working in California races, also the major battleground Senate races, likely to be, perhaps North Carolina, Michigan, Georgia, and Maine, maybe Texas. We'll see. Um, but with a focus on California, California is really um, for the House. We feel like our group should be focused closest to home. It's the best way to get a distribution of volunteers, so that we can focus here and make sure that we are paying attention to these important local races. If you live in another area, there are other House races. There are other ways that you can get involved in other races, and we can help get you set up and get you connected with people if you are not in the Bay Area or in California. Let's see, what else can I say about this? Um, We have volunteers working in House races across the country. We'll also be working in the redistricting special elections. Right now, Virginia is right at the tail end, so we've stopped our postcarding for Virginia, but there are still a couple of opportunities to do some phone banking to support the special election they have on redistricting in Virginia. It's sort of similar to what we did for Prop 50 last year. Um, We'll also be doing advocacy work to connect people with their elected officials. We're encouraging our own members to do that. We're active as a group with both our state and our congressional representatives, as well as two of our senators. But we hold workshops to get people from across the country connected and comfortable with reaching out and communicating with their elected officials. This is really important in sort of providing that heat with our elected representatives and making sure that they're continuously aware of what our concerns are and having them vote the way that we want them to vote. Number three is resistance. Um, as I mentioned, this is kind of new for us the past couple of years, but it's taken on sort of a larger than life role for us. We did quite a bit of it in the first Trump administration, but we're back and it looks completely different now. We're doing a lot of outreach in our local communities, getting communities mobilized and out on the street. If any of you were involved in the most recent No Kings protest in Marin County, you know that we had over 20 local protests across the county. And we found that to be immensely effective in terms of getting our message out and getting people engaged with some of the resistance and protest work that we're doing, because it's local and people feel it most acutely when it's so local. I'm doing a bunch of work there. I can answer any questions that you might have about the organizing of these protest events. If you would like to, we're also doing events around protesting ICE and supporting vulnerable populations, Hispanic populations, as well as homeless populations. And if you would like more information about how to get involved in those, we can help with that. And then lastly, volunteer outreach through education. So we'll be training people to work in elections as well as in the advocacy world and for the resistance. So 4 lanes that we'll be working on this year. So next, let's talk about the election cycle. And this is going to be pertinent to a lot of what we're going to be doing this year around advocacy and influencing the elections. As we go through this, we're going to introduce you to a few concepts and words that we use. we tend to throw them around, and we have to remember that not everybody speaks the language yet. And when we talk about election work, it does change over the course of the year, depending on where we are. And where we are right now is winter, spring, or what we call the pre-primary here in California. And unless you live in Texas, where they've had their primary, um, what we do this period of time is more focused on voter engagement. We don't talk about candidates. We don't push candidates. We don't get involved in primaries. Um, Democrats, we don't support Democrats working against other Democrats. What we like to do is wait and let those local people pick their own before we get involved. Um, but what we do is voter engagement. This is actually really critical. I think it's one of the most, honestly, one of the most important things that we can do as an organization and that we can do as a resistance, larger resistance in our country. And that is active listening and deep canvassing. So this is really um, reaching out to voters, predominantly Democratic voters, as well as some independents that lean Democratic, and listening to what their concerns are. I did a lot of canvassing for Adam Gray in California 13 during the 2024 election. And this was one of the most gratifying things. It's one of the things that made me want to do this even more, is just sitting there and listening to actual people in their actual homes talk about the things that are most important to them. And this is really important foundational work that helps our elected representatives and also our parties and other organizations to understand where to focus their activities and their messaging and how we can be most effective in getting out the vote. So it's really foundational. Those conversations are going on right now. They're basically just conversations with voters about how they feel, um, getting them engaged, getting them involved. Again, we're not pushing candidates. We're not pushing a position or an issue. We want to know what they think. And then we send that information back to the candidates and the parties. Lori is doing phone banking. Hang on just one sec. Just a couple of other things. If you want to get involved in some of this initial outreach, Lori is leading some phone banking around this. It's really uh, the folks that you're calling actually really enjoy talking to you. Everyone wants to express their opinion. You're not trying to convince them of something. And the voters are really hungry for this right now. A lot of them are angry and upset, very angry and upset, and they want to express that anger and frustration. So someone calling them or knocking on their door and asking them what they think, honestly, is exactly what they want. I know it can be a little bit intimidating to think about doing something like that, but right now, it's most people are having very positive experiences with that type of outreach. As we get closer to the primaries, we do what we call um, get out the vote work, but we don't encourage them to vote for a particular person. We just want them to vote and exercise their rights, exercise their voice, um, leave them to their own counties and their own districts to pick somebody. Because with voters, if you vote in the midterm, you're much more likely to vote in general elections. So we want people to get excited about the primaries, about the opportunities to pick a good candidate, but we don't want to steer them towards a particular person. Once we get post-primary, then we'll start having um, folks commit to specific candidates sorts of conversations. They'll have a candidate we need someone to commit to. And that's easy because that's the candidate supported in the primary. Sometimes they're not real happy about who won. So we need to help introduce the candidate to the people, let them know how they stand, that they're there for the entire district or state, not just the people who voted for them. We call this candidate support or candidate ID work. You'll see those words thrown around. So if you're in a campaign and say this is a candidate ID, that means you're going to be talking to people about the candidate and trying to get them to vote. As I mentioned, we do very little work calling Republicans, if any at all. Um, so that's not something you need to worry about. We're focused on getting out the votes for people that already sort of are focused and believe in what we believe in. Once we move to the fall, we start going back to voters that we've already gotten them to commit to a candidate. Now we need them to commit to voting. So we'll be calling people in September and October. We already know that they're voting for, let's say, Adam Gray here in California, but we want them to commit to vote. Um, how are they going to vote? Are they going to vote by mail? Are they going to vote in person? So get them to think really tactically about actually going out and voting, getting them to envision actually voting and helping them understand what they need to do in terms of actually voting. We push early voting by mail where they have it. Um, in California, we push for early voting as much as we can. And again, we call this voter ID. So if you're hearing that word tossed around, if you're in a voter ID campaign, it's because you're trying to get people to commit to voting. You're probably passing the candidate part. Once voting actually starts and early voting begins, or in the full get out the vote, it's get out the vote, and that is about getting people to the polls. Do they have their ballot? Do they know where to vote? Do they need to get a ride to the polls? So going in to get out the vote, once early voting starts here in California, that'll be the beginning of October. It's earlier in some of the other states. The last thing you might hear after the election work is called ballot curing. And I actually did some of this um, for the Adam Gray campaign in California 13 and 2024. For me, this was actually one of the most fun things to do. There's a lot of sleuthing that goes on. You're actually dealing with people that have already voted for your candidate. But usually there's a problem with their ballot. So maybe the signature didn't match, or they forgot to sign it, or the dress was off or something like that. So what you do is you try and track them down and get them to what's called cure the issues. So it might be re-signing the ballot. It might be getting their updated address, whatever it may be. But oftentimes you almost feel like you're a private detective. Sometimes people have moved and you have to kind of figure out where they moved to. Sometimes people have gone back to college, or they're on vacation and you need to get their phone number so you can get them, you can, email them or mail them something and get them to sign it, send it back in. So it's actually a really, really interesting process. California gives us 30 days to cure ballots and to bring them in and fix them so that folks' voices count. So that's another opportunity, another type of activity in the election cycle. So just some interesting different vocabulary and concepts about the election cycle and how it works. So let's talk about partners and coalitions. So we do almost all of our work um, with partners. Nobody works alone anymore. It's not efficient. We've been around for a long time. We have very strong partners that we feel we've looked at the options out there and we pick the partners because they're the most impactful for people to work with. So with postcarding, we work with a group called Activate America. There are other groups out there that use Activate as well, but they are the only ones that work in California. So they also work in every major congressional and Senate race across the country. So if you're working with us, you're able to work everywhere, not just in California. For phone banking and canvassing, We work through a partner called the Bay Area Coalition. We used to run our own small ones, but now we're all coming together to run larger phone banks, and also larger canvassing efforts, with hundreds and hundreds of people. There are new technologies now that allow us to do that, and to be more efficient. And it just doesn't make sense to have these smaller organizations replicating efforts with some of the phone banking that's going on. So, we provide, um, um, you know, the folks that are going to go do this, and then they can go work with our partners to do the phone banking and get the training that they need and use the technologies. Um, we also work with state parties across the country. We'll be working we've been working in North Carolina, where we've worked in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Texas, places like that. We're connected to those state parties, and we'll be able to work with those Senate candidates as well. Once they're elected, on the advocacy side, we partner with a group called Five Calls. That's an app that we train people on that helps them connect with elected officials. So that's something that we partner with. It's very effective. In Marin County, you can see here we have a variety of different local organizations that we connect with to facilitate protests, that we work with to support our local Hispanic communities and other marginalized groups, the homeless, um, uh, and also, as well as our own Democratic Party. Um, we use them quite a bit, to help with some of the activities that we're working on together that we have mutual interest. And then nationally, there are two groups of Indivisible that we work with, the National Coalition of Indivisible, and also there's a coalition of just California groups that are focused on California legislation and issues. So we're fairly well connected. Uh, let's see, running low on time, so I'm going to skip a few things here. So let's move on to, so how do we do it? So let's talk a little bit about our website. So our website is indivisibleMarin.org. You can go to the homepage. You can see here indivisibleMarin.org. If you just type in Indivisible Marin to your preferred search engine, it'll be the first thing that comes up. You can see here that we have the homepage. On the homepage, we have this red banner at the top here that has the most important messages of the day. So it may be, like here you can see, this was a link to a YouTube presentation that Lori did a few weeks ago called State of Play, that is introducing you to what the state of play for the elections in 2026 are for the midterms. There are other types of videos that you can see here, intros to calling your representatives, postcarding, other sorts of trainings and introductions that you can get up here. And then we're recommending that people go to the elect tab on the website to begin to become engaged with the ways they can support elections. But there will be other types of messages up here on a regular basis. There may be, if we're having another No Kings rally, there'll be information up there about it, links to it. If we're having some sort of fundraiser, there'll be a link to the fundraiser up there. So it's just sort of the most important things that are going on right now. You can see here that we have, just bubble up to the top, the events that are coming up most recently. We have news items that we've published that are particularly pertinent. And so that's the homepage. The About section, we still need to update. My picture isn't on here. There are a couple of folks that haven't been added yet. It's just our steering committee, and you can find out more about us. Um, Learn is really a few different things. So one is just stay informed. The stay informed page is really about you know, finding independent media and ways that you can get information that isn't um, um, colored by the increasingly conservative mainstream media. So where are places that you can go? Many of you probably already have your own favorite podcasts and things like that, but if you need some guidance, there are some links there to get you started. If you want to join partner groups, we have links here with some of the partner groups that I just talked about, Activate America, Bay Area Coalition. It tells you a little bit about them and how you can get connected with them. And then a section about Know Your Rights. So just this is information about immigrants' rights, about knowing your rights in terms of protesting and those sorts of things, your rights as a whistleblower. So if you have questions about what your rights are, you can go there as well. The fight is really about two things, the fight section. It's about calling your representatives, and this is really an important ongoing effort. I probably call my representatives once a week, and they probably get sick of me, but it's the way it is. So this is where you can get information about the 5Calls app that we talked about. It helps you organize and standardize the ways in which you're reaching out to your own representatives, and provides guidance with how to call and contact your representatives. And then protest rallies. So here we have information about our approach to protesting. When we do have upcoming protests, you can find them here. There's always something on Mobilize. We always have something going on these days somewhere throughout Marin. So if you click there, I believe that takes you to Mobilize and a list of protests that are going on. And then resources about knowing your rights and how to protect yourself once you're protesting. We'll get to elect in a minute. Build, it's really about building community. So building an organization. So how can you begin to enlist your local community, your neighbors, in supporting some of the efforts that we have going on here? I actually have created an organization of 11 of my local neighbors that we regularly get together and do some outreach. Strengthening community is really about sort of supporting our at-risk communities locally. Donating helps you understand how best to use your money. And then stepping up your commitment. So if you are, just like to promote this again, if you're interested in joining the IndiMarin leadership team, you can find out more about it here, about expectations, the culture, what we're looking for. And then you can click here to fill out a form to apply and let us know that you're interested. So going into elect, so we have three different options for elect. One is write voters with IndiMarin. So this is really our postcarding effort. This is one of our most successful and popular activities in the group. We have, hundreds of folks that participate in this monthly. We've got a lot going on right now. Right now, the focus is on the May 19th Georgia primary. It was the Virginia special election for redistricting, but that closed because last week because folks won't receive the postcards in time. So right now we're trying to get out the vote for the May 19th Georgia primary, particularly to support John Ossoff. And then we always have a significant postcarding activities going on here, and we'll be engaging in postcarding with lots and lots of different campaigns and organizations moving forward throughout the year. Canvassing. So right now we're not directly involved in canvassing. We're coordinating with other organizations, the Marin Democratic Party, the Bay Area Coalition, some others that are supporting canvassing in the Central Valley, predominantly around California 13 for Adam Gray and California 22. Um, I would strongly recommend that if you're interested that you participate. This was a revelation for me and really, really fascinating to get to know voters directly. Um, if you're interested in canvassing, we can certainly point you in the right direction. It's not something that we're currently organizing, but we can get you to the right people that are organizing it. And then finally, phoning voters. And this is, as I mentioned, Lori has deep, deep expertise in managing our phone banking activities, along with the Bay Area Coalition. There's a lot going on here right now. You can see that there's still opportunities to get involved with the Virginia special election and Activate America. There are other phone banking activities that are going to be coming up that Lori can probably give you more information about when I'm done talking here. But this is really one of the most important ways that you can get involved. It's one of the most effective and efficient ways of reaching out to voters and persuading them to vote, better understanding what they want from their elected representatives. And having an impact in the elections. So strongly recommend that you consider this. I know it can, again, these outreaches to voters can feel intimidating, but I can tell you as someone who's participated in phone banking that it can be a revelation, particularly right now in the types of phone banking that we are doing. The people are really happy to hear from us, and they want to vent and they want to express their views. So most people that do this really love it. They come to love it and are repeat customers. Lori was very, very concerned about doing this when she first started, and now she manages the program. So that's how much she loves it. So strongly recommend that you consider phone banking as an option. And that's all I'm going to say right now. We have about 12 minutes left. I'm happy to go over if there are more questions, but that's the presentation for today. So hopefully you come away from this with a better understanding about our organization, its history, what our strengths are, and what some of the opportunities are, and then how you can go about signing up and getting more engaged. And so with that, I'll open it up. And if there are any questions, please raise your hand. Okay.
Matt, Deborah, and I tried the 5 calls, and as I was getting through it, I thought, this is kind of, now tell me, I was wondering whether it's effective because I feel like as a California voter, I'm calling the 2 senators that are Democrats and the local Marin, congressman who's Democrat to say, I'm against the Iran war. I feel like, yeah, they know that. I mean, how like, so I mean, I'm wondering about the effectiveness of that, but I'm just, maybe you can tell me how that works. And then, um, yeah, I'm on the phone, stop. Um, yeah, that's my first question I had.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would say is that it's always important for our representatives, even those who we believe are sort of fully supportive of our positions, to know that we have that two things: ongoing concern. We haven't stopped caring about it. Um, that they know about the intensity of our concern, so that they know that this is something that's really, really, really important to us. And then I guess the third thing that I would add is they also look at, sort of what are the details of our concern. So, we may be concerned about ICE invading our communities, but they may not. We've particularly at the local level, but also at the state levels, help them understand sort of what policies we want changed. What are the specific policies that we'd like them to enact? And they take note of those. So I think it's always important. You can imagine that if our representatives suddenly stopped hearing from us, they might think that it's not important to us anymore. They might not understand the intensity of our concerns.
Mhm.
And this is really a way for us to voice specific, make specific recommendations for what we'd like to see in order to continue our support for them.
Great, thank you. Actually, that makes sense. I did a lot of work for Field Team Six. I had another question. So, like, they are more focused on trying to recruit new people to the Democratic Party. And so,
Hmm.
how do you see them as this is different? I guess maybe the IndiMarin versus or Indivisible versus that your Field Team Six and a group like that, or are you aware of them?
I'm not super aware of Field Team Six. Lori might have more understanding of what they do, but I guess what I would say is if their focus is really on um, creating more democratic voters, um, that's certainly an important role that some organizations should provide. We've found that there are plenty of Democratic voters out there. There are plenty of people that agree with our positions. There are plenty of low propensity voters, and that it's more resource effective for us to focus on those voters right now. That's
Mhm.
not to say that it's not important for other organizations if they're interested in doing that to do that. But there are tons and tons of people out there. Oftentimes what we do is motivation, as well as providing logistical support for people to actually get out and vote. And so, it's just like if you're in business, they say that it's far more effective to sell things to people that you've already sold things to than to create a new customer. It's kind of the same in politics. It's much easier to sort of influence and get what you need out of your existing constituency rather than creating a new one. But again, happy they're doing it.
Yeah, well, they also do phone banking and texting, and I've done a lot of that. And now when I see you all are doing that, I hope the groups are sharing the lists and not calling the same people.
Yeah, Lori, do you have more information about Field
Yeah,
Team
I
6?
mean, Field Team Six is primarily registering voters.
Mhm.
They don't advocate strongly for particular candidate. And I mean that obviously voter registration is a huge need that needs to be filled, and they definitely try to fill that. The work that we do is more concerned about bringing people to the polls, and we have access to their voting locations. We have the ability to share that kind of information, and we're pushing particular candidates. So it's two different pieces of the same pie, but they don't really overlap. List sharing is illegal. You can't. The party is not allowed to interact with independent expenditure organizations, super PACs. There's right now until the Supreme Court decides otherwise. They are in two separate lanes. So yes, there are going to be voters that get contacted by both, but it's with a different goal. So I don't consider it to be really a duplicative kind of a thing. There's very strict laws about sharing lists,
Yeah.
and candidates and parties are not allowed to interact directly with any kind of a super PAC or an independent expenditure organization.
Mm. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Just had one more question, and I am a lawyer, so I'm always kind of interested in how I can apply my, like out of all the things that you talked about, it doesn't. I don't have to do this work. I'm interested in just generally getting Democrats to vote and making a change to the dire situation we're in right now. But it's always been kind of I've been searching around these different groups, Field Team Six, Election Protection, the Lawyers Committees for Civil Rights, and now this, just looking for kind of legal angles where I can apply, some of my skills. But I'm happy to do the other things too. So, but if you have any like one particular program that does focus in that area, I'd be interested in learning about it.
Yeah, election protection is obviously incredibly important this year. There are groups in California that are working solely on that. That's a specialized area, and we can try to get you connected if that's an area that you're interested
Yeah, I'm
in.
already connected with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, but I was wondering if
That's
your
such a
organization
huge need, even
were
here.
okay.
It's a
I'll
huge
just
need. That's the main legal thing that jumps in my mind, that is timely right now.
Well, that curing part of it, I wondered, at a certain point you're trying to get people to cure, but there's a kind of another layer if you can't cure.
Yeah, California is a little different with ballot curing because we have every state has a different policy that they use to cure ballots, and everybody has a different time frame, and it's state by state. We're pretty extensive here with what we're able to offer, but ultimately ballot curing will depend on groups coming in. The Secretary of State will make available those ballots, but they can't contact everyone. So it's really which side is going to have the most amount of volunteers that come out and cure them. And like in Adam Gray's district last year, the Republicans just didn't ballot cure. They didn't have any help. So it's a volunteer driven, driven thing.
Okay, that's really
Yeah, it's
interesting.
volunteer driven. We just had more volunteers that went down, like Nat was saying, that went down to 13 and knocked on doors, and they didn't do it. And that's how we won that election, was really the ballot curing. But in reality, it doesn't create usually enough votes to win an election, except in something like that. So there a lot of districts just don't do it because it's just not going to change the results.
But Gray won by only 187 votes, so
Oh yeah, I mean ballot
it was
curing won
important.
that. I think they cured over 6,000 ballots for him.
Yep.
So we would have lost the election without that. So we'll do it, and the party has the ability to activate in those districts, but they don't do it in a lot of districts because doesn't really matter.
Thanks. It was a good presentation. Thank you, by the way.
Thank you. Any other questions, folks, from anyone else?
Yes. Hi, I'm Mary. I actually just wanted to know a couple things, and just in terms of the governorship race, if that's something Indivisible is getting involved in any particular way, because I'm nervous about ending up with two Republicans in November.
Yeah, so we're not getting involved
Okay.
pre-primary. So as I mentioned, we don't like to pick a horse in the race. We want the local communities to pick who that's going to be, and obviously things are in a bit of disarray right now. So
Good old swimmer.
we're going to let things play out, and then after the primary, we'll support whoever's.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of statewide stuff.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
So, I mean, whoever wins the Democratic primary here will win the election. We just need to make sure we have.
We need to know that we have a Democratic.
So Indivisible California does have some projects going to work on this issue. It's just changing so fast every day now that it's hard to know exactly what direction, but there is a movement among California indivisibles to lean on the non-viable candidates to drop out. It's not a universally supported thing among all indivisibles.
Yes.
We opted not to get involved as an organization, although I'm still doing it somehow anyway. But I think we'll know more in the next couple of days as to what's happening. But there is movement going along in the party and in the indivisible part of the grassroots world to pressure. But we're only.
So that's California. What you're telling me is that IndiMarin does not get involved in state politics as much.
We don't. We never have before because we've never really needed to. I mean, everything is so. We don't do primaries like Matt said. So, like in Adam Schiff's race, we didn't take a side. And then he didn't need support in the general. So this is just a very unusual situation because of our jungle primaries, and there isn't complete agreement on the best way for the grassroots to approach the issue, but there's a pathway for there's groups on both sides of it. Like we should get involved and we should pressure. And then other groups are saying, no, we just got to let this play out one way or another. So I think we'll know more in about a week when we see some post endorsement and post Swalwell polling. And I
Okay.
think that will either push everybody to one side or let them just, it'll just settle
See
out
where
on
it
its own.
falls. See where it falls. So if
But
I wanted
everybody's
to
very
get,
worried about it. If you,
oh,
everybody's very
I'm
worried.
sure, I'm sure. I'm not alone. I know that. Um, but if I wanted to get involved in any state um, campaign or influencing the state legislature in any way, what organization would be best for that? Would that be the
You mean like individual candidates running in state legislative races?
Nope, I'm not even, I'm talking even more about an issue. I'd
I
love
would,
the
there's a
California
group called,
legislature to do what
yeah.
Montana's doing
uh,
right now.
Okay. Well, as far as issues go, like bills, there's a group called State Strong, and that is a group of California indivisibles that work on state legislative issues only. So that's their deal, and they are on that 24 hours a day. They don't deal with the congressional and Senate races and all that. They purely deal with California legislation. They're a very strong, well-organized group.
States,
And
so if I
it's
just
called
Google.
it's called State Strong. You know what, Mary, let me why don't you I'm going to just send you my email in the chat and reach out to me and I can get you hooked up with them.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Other questions from anyone else?
It's good to
Going
see some
once.
people. I recognized Celeste from the phone bank the other night, and Viola is an old friend of Indivisible Marin. So it's great to see you guys here, as well as everybody else too.
Awesome.
Thank you for the presentation.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
All right. If there are no other questions, I think we will call it a night. And thank you so much for being here. We're delighted to have all of you join us and work with us in whatever way you think is best. And please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. And head to our website when you have some time and figure out how you want to become involved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you on another call. Okay, great job, Matt. Did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, we only had
Places I
one
need to
person
polish
that
up,
was a
but
little bit weird. I let them in and I watched them. It was that Motorola thing,
yeah, I
but
booted them when I saw them. So
yeah, but that was it.
I think we
Everybody
just need
else
to
was
have a general rule. If you don't have a real name and you're not on,
yeah.
you're not visible, you're booted.
How did it ever work out with your computer? Did you have to wash the whole thing and
I reinstalled everything. So I've got a new operating
okay.
system and it was a huge pain in the butt, but I think I'm clean now. So
All right. Well, good. Well, that went really well. You did a great job and that was a good group. We had 16 people, which is 16 out of 60, still not, about 25%. So
yeah,
that's about as good as we're getting these days. So that's good.
okay,
This
great.
might be a better time,
Yeah,
because I think the last time we did it during the week, right?
yeah,
So Sunday just might be a little bit of a better time, but I'll let Susan know. And
great.
are you coming tomorrow? Is
I'll
there a
be there
meeting
tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I may not be there because we have tickets to Springsteen tomorrow night.
Oh, I'll see you there then.
Oh, are you going to?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's what time does it start? Are you going to do?
Well,
Because it
it's
starts.
the tickets say 7:30, but I'm going to be working in the city tomorrow, so I'll be like 4 blocks from the
From Chase.
auditorium. So I'll just walk over.
Okay,
But
well, maybe I'll see you. I have to go to Sacramento. I have to see my daughter. They're buying a house. My daughter's buying a house, and I have to go to the inspections with her tomorrow because she's so nervous.
oh
So
no.
I'm going to come back from Sacramento. It just really depends on. I may not make the meeting because
Okay,
if
makes
I
sense.
can try to join from the car.
Springsteen's more important, way more important.
I guess I haven't seen him since I was like really young, but I heard his concerts are really great. I have a friend who sent me something from the LA concert and said it was really good. So short, but good. He's
Yeah,
old. He can't be up there for 3 hours.
yeah, no way. Yeah, my wife is born and raised in New Jersey, so she's never seen Springsteen, and she's never seen Bon Jovi. So this is half her bucket list. So we'll get there.
I would know. I can't believe I was able to get tickets. I kind of surprised my husband because I don't usually like concerts, but he's always
Oh,
asking me, is there anybody you'll go see? I'm like, oh, I don't really need to do that stuff anymore. But this came up, so I thought I could see him.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great
All
night.
right. Well,
And,
thanks. You did a great job. And I'll keep you posted about what to do, but now we can trade off and maybe Andy
that
can do
sounds
the
great.
next one. And
Yeah,
as long as somebody can do one every time, I think it'll lighten the load.
that sounds great.
But this went fine security
Cool.
wise.
All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Awesome. Talk
All
to you
right.
soon.
Have a good one. I'll see
Bye.
you across the auditorium tomorrow night.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.